I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people watching us from around the world, they say, we know where Canada is, and then British Columbia on the west coast, right? And then Prince George, where is Prince George? Well, it's 500 miles north of Vancouver. For our European friends, 800 kilometers. And it is in the center of British Columbia, north-south, east to west. Today we got an interesting guest, and her name is Serena Sanghera, and she is a lady from Prince George, born in Prince George, in fact. And so she embodies the spirit of service, leadership, and community. She's a proud graduate of the University of British Columbia in Prince George and in the region, one of the most popular small universities in Canada, in fact, for many years, where she finished on the top of her class. Serena is now applying to a medical school with sights set on a future of dedication to healthcare and helping others. Serena, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to see you and join you today on your podcast. I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I. Because we, and especially seeing somebody like yourself born here in Prince George, and then obviously being educated in Prince George. Prince George is such an interesting community, and again, for our guests watching us from around the world, because we don't do too many now of locally based podcasts, but your story is so unique. I wanted you to be on this podcast. And, Prince George is a city, as I said in the introduction, in central British Columbia. It's an amazing place because it is full of nature. All around us is nature, forest, and within 50 miles, we've probably got 100 lakes, and it is an amazing place for the outdoors and for families. And then it has amazing facilities at the University of Northern British Columbia that is not only located in Prince George, but has satellites all over Northern British Columbia. And then the other place, obviously, is the College of New Caledonia, has been here for many, many years and does exactly the same. It has satellites. And we are on the traditional territories of the Clayton HNA. We have a very healthy First Nations community around us, different communities, but we are on the unsurrendered territories of the Clayton HNA here in Prince George. And so which is very important to us as well. And so when I first came in the mid-60s, I was then 24 years old. And I came from Holland. I was born in Holland, in northeastern Holland, actually. And so what brought me to Prince George is that this was during the war years when I was born in 1940. And when I was 5 years old, we were liberated by the Canadian Army as part of the Allied forces that liberated Western Europe from the Germans and the dictator Adolf Hitler. And so it made such an impression on me. Things had been tough. There was a period where we had no food, and us as kids, I had a brother and a sister that were 2 years older than me, and one 1 year old. And every morning we would go with gunny sacks in the railroad yard, pick up anything edible and burnable. And the reason that we did as kids is that the Germans would not shoot us. They boot us one, and the following morning we'd be back again. But then when we were liberated, April the 12th, 1945, it made such an impression on me that I knew from that point forward as the little 5-year-old that when I grew up, I would go to the land of my heroes, Canada. And I did. And then the other dream that I had is to build a lumber mill. And obviously I did that as well. But when I came here, I had nothing. July 1965, came off, landed in Montreal, took the train across Canada to Vancouver because I wanted to be where the timber is. And 4 days, 5 nights on the train. Can you imagine? Oh my God, that's a long way. Anyway, when I came off the train, went to the immigration office. I couldn't speak language, didn't, and so went to the immigration office, and then fortunately there was a German fellow I could speak a little bit of German, and I told him I wanted to build a lumber mill. He said, go to Prince George, 1965. I did. I went on the Greyhound, and I can still in the distance see where the Greyhound station used to be. Came off the bus there, and I had a suitcase. I had 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, and I counted my money at least 3 times. Couldn't speak language, didn't know soul, didn't have a job. And I had exactly $25.47. But what I had lots of is attitude. Through all the challenges, I've always been positive. And even now, I avoid negative. And then I had a passion. Whatever I do, I give it 125%. And then the other part is work ethic. I work harder than anybody, even now, at nearly 85. I'm going to be 85 in about a month and a half. 85 years young, I call it. And so I get up at usually 5:30 in the morning, always make my bed, and I always think I'm late. And so, but then, bringing me to the point of Prince George was then considered to be a boom town. And so, and the common question was, when did you arrive here and when are you leaving? It was a place to make money. And so it has evolved from that substantially. Now, at that time, probably, I don't know exactly, maybe 10, 15,000 people. We are 80, 85,000. And obviously, it's now at the point of even going to the next phase that I believe the future of Prince George is to the point where it will probably, right now, saying around 80, 85,000 people. It probably will have 150,000 people in the next 5 to 10 years, and probably 200,000 in the next 20 years, I believe. And I believe in that. So in all the time that I've been here, I'm investing not only in lumber manufacturing, but also in real estate. We have 4 silos. The one is lumber manufacturing, the other one is warehousing, distribution and logistics, and the other one is real estate, residential, commercial, and industrial, and the other one is media. And then so I'm a speaker and presenter, I do books, and then at the same time I'm very active in podcasting. So that all being said then, so that's where Prince George is, and you are a result of all of that in terms of being born here, then going to the University of UNBC of Northern British Columbia, and I was quite involved in terms of setting up the university when that happened. Must be close to 30 years or more ago now, but I remember it well. The whole community got in the region, got behind it to establish an independent university, not an associated, but independent. And then, I think there were 16 or 18,000 people that contributed $5 each. And the names are still there, including mine, my wife's, and others of getting the university. And then politically, we put a huge pressure on getting the funding for the university. And obviously what we see now, it's sitting on the hill, beautiful, and you are a result of that as well. And so are many others. And, and then the other part of the university, and we'll talk about that a little bit, is that after it came off the ground and became popular as the most popular small university, it added the medical school to it, which was another amazing step forward. At the same time, not to forget, the College of New Caledonia has been very, very successful too. Added the Trades and Technology Center to it, and I'm very honored to have my name on that, the John A. Brink Trades and Technology. The interesting thing about naming things is most of the people that are on that are dead, but I'm not. I'm still alive,
yeah.
But that's kind of interesting. So, tell us a bit about you. And so you were born here, and then obviously you did your lower schools here, you went to high school, and then you made a decision to go to the university. How did it all take place? How did you look around? Tell us more about you.
So after high school, well, during high school, they always pushed more trades onto schools these days, which I can understand because trades was declining at that time around 2019, and they wanted more kids to get into trades. So that was always, I went to DP Todd, so that was always pushed there and was doing trades. But sciences was never pushed, or like, we didn't have many science programs like the other high schools did. And so I always wondered about science because I was always interested in biology, and with the few biology courses I took, I was like, oh, this is interesting, because I've always been curious why, like just why does this happen?
Yeah.
And like, so with the human body, I was always asking why, and I was like, maybe I should do a biochem and molecular biology degree.
Yeah.
And then it was, where do I go?
Yeah.
And so I applied to UNBC, and then I applied to UBC as well.
And UBC is the Vancouver one. Yeah.
Yes, because my family's been there too, so I thought maybe, because the problem with the Northern BC is we don't have much research institutions here yet. So that's another thing the university has been trying to be proactive about and get more research here, because the big institutions obviously had more resources down there.
Yeah.
And being in Canada anyways, research is always minimal compared to America, so.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting the UNBC Northern Pathways to Medicine bursary, which was valued at $40,000. So that would have covered my whole tuition.
Yeah.
So it was no doubt in my mind that I would go to UNBC, because obviously my whole tuition was going to be paid for, and that took such a toll off of my hands. So.
Exactly.
And they had a good mentorship program there. So with the Northern Medical Pathways to Bursary, they had a mentor. They guided you throughout your whole 4 years, because I was first generation going to university.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
When was that? What year?
2019.
2019. Oh my God, can you imagine? That's 4 or 5 years ago now.
Exactly.
So that's when you started?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, then we're going to go there. And the program was so amazing. And I said, my whole goal was to go to the Northern Medical Program and always practice here in the North. So that's why I decided to go there. And so I did my biochem and molecular biology degree at UNBC. And I also was passionate about research. So I worked with Dr. Kendra Ferber in her neuroscience lab. And we looked at the localization of SIRT2, which is a molecule in the brain that is...
say that again, because I find that interesting. You work for Dr.
Kendra Ferber.
Who is he?
She is, she's from USask, so she's from Saskatchewan. She came here in 2019, established her lab in 2020.
Right from the beginning, right? So.
Yeah, so Jeff Payne was part of the Northern Medical Program Research Institution, and obviously came on to becoming president at UNBC. So she took over his lab sector in that side, and she was studying...
And that's Dr. Jeff Kane, right?
Yeah. And then...
Payne.
Payne, yes. Yeah. And then she has a neuroscience lab, so she studies...
She has a
neuroscience lab.
Okay, so neuroscience lab, for the guests watching us from around the world here, neuroscience is based on...
The brain. Brain research.
That's where the focus is.
Yes.
Okay.
And then obviously there's other sectors of the brain and you want to study. So we were studying myelin, which is a coating that is wrapped around the neuron, which is a brain cell.
Okay, help us there again. Explain it to us as best as we can.
Yeah. So our brain has a bunch of cells that work together.
Right.
The main majority cell in our brain is called the neuron.
Okay.
And that's a number one cell we need in our brain.
Is that the mass that you then talk about?
So these are little cells in the brain, the neuron.
Yeah.
And so myelin is you know how paint has primer to keep it intact?
Yeah.
It's like that sticky thing intact to keep it around the neuron. There's a thing called axon, which is like a stick, and it fires potential to other neurons. So that the firing is what gets your brain to work, and so it helps trigger that firing and make it smooth. Okay. So once that degrades, the firing slows down, and that's how MS happens.
Okay.
So
and MS is?
MS is multiple sclerosis.
Yeah, and this is an illness.
Yes, it's an illness where we have neurodegeneration. So.
Which means?
That the cells just die. I don't understand in simple form.
So it's interesting to me, neurodiversities, is that I said to you at the introduction that I am ADHD and I have dyslexia. And so, and I discovered that at a very advanced age. For a long time, I was wondering, who am I? You know, right from the time that academically I was not a success story. I failed grade 3 in Holland, and I failed grade 7 3 times. And then the people said to my parents, what are you going to do with this guy? And my parents, I love my parents. And they said, they suggested send him to the mentally challenged school. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. So they, at 12 and a half years old, when for the third time I failed grade 7, my dad had a friend that had a furniture factory and say, send him here to become a furniture maker at 12 and a half years old. And so I liked it. And but kids can be hard on each other. And so a lot of times in school they said, well, John will not amount to much because he's not smart enough. And then kids can be hard on each other when you fail. The friends that I had that went on to college and university kind of looked down on me. I was a laborer then. I'm proud of that today, actually, but then I was kind of looked down on. And the other funny part about it, in a way, was that I always remember school came out on Friday, and the holidays, not 3 months there on the holidays, I don't know, 2 months either, whatever it is. And there was 3 weeks. And so there, I was looking forward to having holidays, but my dad said we're going to go to a store that a friend of his owned and to buy 3 sets of coveralls so that you can go to the factory. And so I went down there on Sunday. I still always remember it. And so I tried on. They didn't have any coveralls my size, so I had to roll them up several times. And then the crotch was hanging by my knee, smaller than today, but it wasn't then. Anyway, so that's how I want to work, and and the other part always that was on my mind, the dream, as I said earlier. We were liberated by the Canadian Army when I was 5. The dream of going to the land of my heroes. But the other one was that I believed that I was just as smart as anybody else. Not better than, but just as smart. But who am I was always a challenge. And so then I wanted to start from nothing when I came here. Hence, left with a suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, and then very little money, and then I knew I wanted to go to British Columbia because I wanted to build a mill, and that's where all the trees was. I had no idea, and then I didn't know anybody. But even then, when I was here already for 32 years, and then one day I walked into a store here, and you probably know the store on 3rd Avenue, books on 3rd Avenue. And I picked up a book, and this was the book that I picked up. This is the actual book I picked up in 1997. And as I went through the book, and for our guests watching, it's Driven to Distraction, written by Dr. Hollowell, who's a medical doctor, professor, well-known globally, actually, and has written 18 books, 5 on distraction, ADHD and dyslexia. And so I read the book, and I was standing in the store, and I was going through, I don't know why I picked it up. And I was going through the book, and finally the guy that owned the store said, gonna buy it? Or no, I just kidding. But I went through it. The more I looked at the book, I said, oh my God, that's me. And then I wrote in the book here, you can see the date, January 1997. And I said, that's me. But I wrote it in Dutch because I was ashamed of it in a way, because it was still considered to be a mental disorder of some description. And I was building already companies and all this thing, and all of a sudden I go to the bank and apply for hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to build companies, and then say, oh, by the way, I have a mental disorder, and say, have a nice day, right? So the more I read about it, I say, it's a superpower. And then the more I found out about it, the more I looked at Google. It probably took me 5 years before I would go to my doc that was a personal friend, delivered our 2 daughters, actually. And he said, "Hey, John, why are you here?" I said, "I think I got ADHD." And so we checked it out. I do, so, and I thought in our discussion, especially talking about neurodiversity issues, obviously it's a topic to me that is a very important one for that reason. And I've been vocal about it. I wrote a book about it, and you look at a copy of that book. I just show it to our guest here. ADHD Unlocked is important to me, and I'll get you a signed copy of that. And I wrote a number of other books as well, so that became important. And so I speak about that as not exclusively about all the podcasts. You're my podcast number 456, 57, or 58, something like that. And it comes up frequently, the occurrence of ADHD much higher than I initially had anticipated. And actually, I have to add one more thing too that I want to share with you. Is Dr. Hollywell, very well known, obviously worldwide, and you are my podcast number 457 on the Brink. And then I invited Dr. Hollywell, who was on my podcast 203. And we talked about those issues and others, actually. And so, it's very, very interesting podcast to watch for all the people, and we will show it once we show our podcast, the actual link to that. And so we talked about it. I suggested to Dr. Hollywell, he's the expert, I just lived it. And I suggested to him that I believe that initially maybe 6 to 10% of the population may be affected by ADHD. But then the more I read about it, the more I thought it's much higher than that. And I suggested to Dr. Hollywell, maybe as high as 20%. He said, "No, John, more than 25%. I agree with that. And then the other thing that I found, in people that are successful, and I've been around many of them in all the businesses that I do, board of directors all over the place and blah, blah, blah. I believe that with all those successful individuals that I have met, probably 50% of them, I suggested to Dr. Hollywell, are ADHD. He said, "No, John, probably 75%. I agree with him. And so for all those people that wonder about neurodiversity issues, watch my podcast 203 with Dr. Hollywell, and that is very, very interesting. So now more, from my perspective, I'm more vocal about it. And frequently, very frequently, it happens. Now in my podcasting, at least 1/3 of the time, if that the people on my podcast saying that when the issue comes up, not for the purpose of doing that, but it's simply knowing that I'm ADHD and saying, "Well, I've never told anybody, but I'm ADHD as well." Happens over and over and over again. So, and that part is important, and that's why I'm so interested in having you as well on my podcast about that.
That's interesting, and maybe you can relate to this, because coming out with Parkinson's is also really hard and difficult, and Selin coming public with his Parkinson's, which was something very vulnerable about him, exposing that was very difficult for him, but it was seen in such a positive light.
Who was that?
Selin Alpay.
Yeah.
So when he came out at the launch.
Who is he?
He's a Canadian Tire owner.
Yeah.
And he was recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And
he is located?
He's located here in Prince George, BC.
Yeah, he's a friend of us, right?
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that everybody understands it.
Yeah.
And so let me add one more thing here, Serena, very, very important. Parkinson, very important to you as a topic. And in fact, there is something that you have been part of and very much are involved in is the Parkinson SuperWalk that will happen, what date?
On September 6th, and 12:30 is the walk, and registration starts at 11:30, and it'll be taking place at Clayton Park in Prince George, BC. And
it starts in the Clayton Park in Prince George?
Yes.
That's where it is. And again, say it again once more. It is on, what day of the week is that?
It's on Saturday, September 6th.
Since say that's close, guys. That is next, not this Saturday, but the following,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So and again, for all those people in the region here, this is the time to be part of that, right?
Yeah.
And so how long is the walk?
The walk is, I would say roughly takes about 2 hours with opening speakers and guest speakers we're gonna have, but the walk is 2 kilometers in total. We take the trail by the river and we just loop it back to the picnic shelter.
Yeah. And then is the cost involved? Or?
No, so we ask you to sign up, participate, and join us at the walk, and we also ask you to donate online, whatever amount you're able to. This funding will go towards investing into research, innovation, and increasing advocacy for it, and also it helps support the programs that the Parkinson's Society endorses and workshops that help people with Parkinson's.
And Parkinson, again, is one, and tell us about the fellow from Canadian Tire. His name is?
Selin Alpay.
Yeah, Selin, right?
Yes.
And he's a friend of us, and he's local, he's very successful, has given back to the community. He's a personal friend of mine, as well as, and you know him well, obviously, because of this. And tell us about Selin, that he has had challenges, and we know that, but he has been more vocal about it, and that's important, I believe, because that encourages others. And that's why it is so important for me to sit here and talk about it in terms of me, ADHD and dyslexia, you know.
Exactly. Like I was saying, like you can probably relate back to that, being a public figure yourself and coming up, but it's such a positive thing. I don't know if you've noticed that more people are saying, coming up to me and saying, thank you for coming out. Like it made me more aware with ADHD. And the same thing's happening with Parkinson's. A lot of people I've never seen at our sport group, they're coming and saying, I have Parkinson's and maybe I should join the sport group and I should be out and open about it and not hide it from people.
Exactly. And then for others to be supportive endorses that even further, right? And that's why it is so important for you to be here and to encourage our people from around the region here. We want to make it a great success. Has it been done before? You did it last year as well, right?
Yeah, so we've been doing it for about 15 years now.
15, huh?
That I know of, yeah.
Yeah. And so let's make this. What is the goal of how many people to get?
We want to get as many people as possible. Selin wants to see a sea of purple with his Selin Squad shirts you probably have seen on social media.
Yeah.
He has his own shirt, so he wants people to come out. We want as many people as possible. The max I've maybe seen is 180, so if we can beat 180, then I would be more than happy. I hope all of Prince George comes and supports us. Our community is so good, and we're so blessed to have such an amazing community that helps and supports us. So
we want 300, 400, 500 people there, right?
If you're
we
free
must
that day.
have 400 to 500 people.
Yeah.
Huh?
I agree.
That's the commitment, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's not only for Parkinson, it's not only for Selin, who has been a commitment to the region and the community and giving back. Let's make this an amazing success.
Yeah.
Tell us more about it in terms of from your medical studies about Parkinson to understand. We know ADHD is obviously something that you're familiar with, and so it was looked at in a lot of talking ADHD as a liability. So what I was telling you earlier, and just for the benefit of our people watching us, is that can you imagine, and you can, I know, but you in a general sense, that this little guy, 12 and a half years old, coming out of school, failing grade 7 for the third time, and being told that he will not amount to nothing, likely. And my parents love me, obviously, but, and then, so going through the challenges of the educational system and everybody else went elsewhere to universities and colleges, and I became a laborer, but I was proud of it in a way, but not. I always wondered, why am I so different? And it took me until I was diagnosed by my doc here in Prince George when I was 62 years old. 50 years. 50 years before I picked up this book, in 1997. This one here, January 1990. I was then 57 years old. I was born in 1940. And then it took 5 years before I had the shame of going even to my doc until I understood it, reading the book, and then, looking at Google and all the other things, and then say, c'est super. And then going to my doc and then being diagnosed. But for a long time, I was sitting there, who am I? And I already was successful, but it always was on my mind, who am I? And so, and one of the objectives that I have in all the things that I do, not making a lot of money, that's never been my objective, but giving back.
I agree with that. I think it's really important to give back to your community, and since it's done so much, and that's why for our SuperWalk, we're also going to be advocating for a movement disorder clinic for Prince George, BC, to give back to the people of our community so they're able to get health care without experiencing inequality of healthcare in our system in BC. And I think it's important also to just define Parkinson's for people that probably don't know what it is. It's an incurable chronic...
Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Explain to us Parkinson.
Yeah, so it's chronic, it's incurable, and it's a progressive...
What does chronic mean?
Chronic means it's not something that you can just get rid of right away. Chronic means that it's always there. It's not, like acute would be something that you can, maybe temporary, but chronic is something that is there, that you've had for a long time. And it's progressive, so it does get worse.
Is it starts in the brain?
Yeah, so I'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
so it's progressive, it's incurable, and it's something that affects our movement control system in the brain. And when our movement control system in the brain is damaged, basically what happens is you might experience stiffness, tremors, still movement, and this is because we have neurons, like I explained, those brain cells in our brain, and they contain dopamine, and over time they are damaged. And neurons are not cells that can regenerate. You can't get them back. So once they are damaged, they are damaged. And that leads to and dopamine helps us have that smooth, controlled movements. So without it, you start shaking. So that's what Parkinson's is.
So the visuals to other people are, why are you doing this? And it likely is Parkinson.
Yes.
And then, so the other part that I am always thinking is that it's the brain, the firing system in the brain. As you explained it, it's not curable. Is there a way at some point? Is it hereditary, or is it genetic, or is it, if the likelihood is, and don't scare anybody, but if it is in your family, is it a way that I can say that, can you check on me and see if I have genetically a likelihood, or may have, that I will be at some point get Parkinson?
Yeah, so in our support group, there is several people that I know that have a genetic, so either their mom or dad had it and now they have it. So genetic is a factor. Recent studies have shown maybe diet and just how we function as humans might be a factor now. It is becoming more prevalent in young people now. So less than the age of 50, it's actually getting very popular. So we don't know why. That's why research is being done.
Say that again.
Under 50.
Under 50, yeah.
Yeah, it's getting very prevalent.
Yeah.
Under 50. And it's one of the fastest growing neurodegenerative diseases in Canada right now.
So, just taking you back then to saying that if it is genetically shown that the gene, or whatever you call it, that the likelihood is that you may get this at some point, does that then mean that you can... So many things that we do now have to do with what we do, diet, lifestyle, exercise, the lack thereof, and on, have something to do with what we are doing and being even more possibility of diseases of some description or another. Is that something to do with, say, so let me say this way, so that the earliest somebody knows genetically if they are potentially affected by it, what do they do?
So basically, you can get genetic mapping done. You can get a bunch of tests to see if it's in your genes, but sometimes that gene isn't activated until a certain, maybe like you have an infection and that activates a certain gene. Like sometimes genes get activated and doing certain things, right? So sometimes that gene is suppressed until something happens and it gets activated. And there's a lot of people in the support group that are taking precaution. They don't have Parkinson's yet, but they know they might. So they're joining our support group, and I think you can't do anything other than exercise and be active, which is so important these days.
Exercise.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I have to show you another book that I do. Okay, fell down. So this is another book that I wrote, that Living Young, Dying Old. That's actually a picture of me. I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America. I started going to the gym. Oh, I just dropped all my books here. Oh my God. All of this stays in the podcast. Actually, they say, oh, this guy is a basket case. So just kidding. So in any event, this one I wrote about it because it took me a long time to get to it. And then at one point in my life in 2008, actually a case of diverticulitis. And I'm not a dog. You're closer to that than I am. But I always say when his right side is potentially appendix, and if your left side, maybe the colon, and potentially diverticulitis. And I had a rupture, and that was delicate. So I had an operation that took 12 centimeters out of my colon, but I waited too long, and I came that close to not making it, and then. That gave me the lesson of saying, I'm going to have to look at my life. I was not abusive in terms of, but my wife is vegetarian, and and I didn't listen quite as good as I could have, although I was not abusive. And I was another guy, one of those guys that at the end of the years, we making a commitment. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, and I'm going to buy a membership to the gym, and then 2 weeks later, I can give you 100 reasons why I'm too busy to go to the gym. And so I then made a commitment that, I would look at my diet, and I'm now 80-20, maybe even 90-10 vegetarian. And then I got a trainer to go to the gym, and I've been doing that now for 16 years. And then after about 6 years, and I was overweight and all the other classic things, but I was already in my 70s. And so after 6 years, somebody said to me, hey, John, have you ever thought about competing? I said, me? Yeah. I thought, well, why not? So I started training to compete, and here's a picture of me now. So I started competing in Northern British Columbia. I'm not suggesting anybody else should, but I'm simply saying I believe in fitness, mental, physically, diet, all those things. This was just something that would give me the incentive to continue. I went to the gym and then competed bodybuilding physique, came in second bodybuilding third in physique in Northern BC, the same, and then NBC qualified me for the Nationals and the Arnolds. And today, again, after this, I be in the gym 4 times a week, again training for, again competing probably in the Arnolds again in 2026 when I'm 86, which makes me the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America. But most importantly, though, what I'm suggesting is living young, dying old, how to thrive in your mid-80s even. Everything is possible, but fitness, diet and fitness, critically important. And so since that time, and I say, and that's why I give this as an example, if you haven't, you meaning people watching us from around the world, if you haven't been doing this enough and saying, well, I'm too old now. No, you're not. You can start it anytime. Start even walking. and start walking for a half an hour. Take a friend and then slowly start more. Look at diet. Like, even, believe it or not, for my wife is a vegetarian, Sharon, and I do all the shopping. And if I go to a store, with all due respect to all the friends that have grocery stores, is that we shop on the outside. Because on the inside of the store, they have processed food. And if you don't know what is in it, you don't want it. So we want as much quality food as we can. Think carefully about diet. Don't be abusive. So what I do is I sleep 7 to 9 hours a day. It's important to me. As soon as I get up, I drink 10 ounces of water. The first thing that I do. Then I usually have 3 to 4 eggs and an avocado. And then I usually go to the gym at 11 o'clock, and then I have a double protein shake there that is my lunch. And then in the evening I go and I make something more substantial, for a diet. And then during mid-morning I may take a small drink that processed, that is not, that is healthy. In the same mid-afternoon. And then I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I don't use chemicals. And so that's what I try to do.
Yeah, and is there any advice you would give to maybe the seniors of our community to motivate them to get up? And what I find is that seniors tend to think that their life is already falling apart and that they should just stay at home and just sit there. And mental health is really important as well. And I think that if maybe their mental health was maybe stronger, that would motivate them to get up and exercise, that their life isn't over yet, but...
Yeah, and exactly that, Serena, that's why I wrote this book. Hey guys, I started this, that I nearly died 16 years ago, and I was nearly 70 then, and so... and I was not very good either. I was overweight and doing all these things, and I was not doing it as well as I could. That was from there on forward. And today, as I'm sitting here, I'm for all intents and purposes 85. My birthday is November the 1st. And so what I'm suggesting, if you at least start doing something, walk with a friend, and then look at your diet carefully. And do the things that are doable. You don't have to become an Olympian. You don't have to become a bodybuilder like I did. It motivated me to go to the gym. That's why I do it. It's not so much that I want to be the bodybuilder, but the amazing thing that you will find is that all of a sudden somebody comes up to you and say, "Hey, Serena or John, what are you doing? You look great." And that is what will happen. And for me, the first time that I went to the gym, and I went into the gym and it looked like, they can be sometimes intimidating, not as much as they used to be, because to me, everybody looks perfect. And then if I walk in, they say, "Well, what is he doing here?" But that's not so. They're all there for a reason. And I didn't even know how to sit on machines. All of that is possible. Go into the gym. They will give you time to work with the trainer initially, and then slowly, I use the trainer all the time. You don't have to do that. Just get direction. And then from there on in, you'll be amazed what will happen if you stay the course. It's not about health, it's about quality of life that it becomes critical. And basically understanding, it's not complicated. It's basically understanding doing the right thing.
No, I agree with that. And I think, like I said, with Parkinson's, a lot of the people are unable to exercise depending on your mobility and stuff.
Yeah.
But the people that ride their bikes at home, just sitting and riding their bike, have shown so much increase in health, and their tremors have subsided and stuff. So I think it's really important too.
Just riding the bike?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that part is important, right? So as they look forward, do they see any potential of the earlier you identify it or putting you in that category, This no different with ADHD and dyslexia, like in my case, is that the earlier you know for a child in particular that it needs additional attention, encouragement, understanding it not as a liability. That's why it is important for me to say it's a superpower. I'm not saying that everybody can be. I say that the potential. Once you understand that it is not a liability, and then from there on in. So with me, even when I failed grade 3 and failed grade 7 3 times, I was very good at numbers. Amazingly good, and I have an amazing memory. Much more than other, even still today at 85. And a lot of people that are around me cannot believe, like my mind works very, very quickly, and I say that's because I'm ADHD. And so do not look at or let other people look at it as a liability, because it isn't, and you must work within the same. You're the expert more so than I am. Most of us, in a general sense, correct me if I'm wrong, are not familiar with Parkinson, and the reason for it is simply that. So why are you doing this? People don't want to do that, and so that's why this program is so important. That's why you are so important to be here, not only for Prince George and the region, but for the world, because this is not unique to Prince George. It is around in Prince George. It is the same around the world. And the interesting part about, I'm not bragging about it, but we have on this podcast, and this is just on the beginning, podcast will become the key media vehicle around the world, and it's already substantial, but it's just expanding much more than the main television stations around the world, CNN, ABC, BBC, and all the other ones, and the newspapers. This will become the media that is more active around the world and communicate around the world. We have on YouTube, we have subscribers. We are close to, I think we're 960,000 subscribers, nearly 1 million subscribers. That means that we can have as many as 2 million people watching us.
That's amazing.
And that's what I like about it. That's why I like you being here and talking about issues that are important to both of us in terms of neurodiversity issues and the importance of it, understanding it, into making a career out of it like you do, and is amazing for us, and it gives us encouragement. And I'm looking at your shirt, the Parkinson SuperWalk, and again for the people watching us, that is on the 6th of September in the Clayton H&A Park. And last year there were about 150, 160, 170. This year we want 500, guys. We need 500.
Yes.
And it's a commitment. And you're going to have to let me know after that Saturday, did we get, because then we're going to go back again and saying, hey guys, where were you? And because it's going to be a beautiful day. It will be, and so. Okay, so what else, in terms of, so this is the actual document of the, and so maybe show it to us there on the camera. We are on the camera right in front of us, so that's the one.
So this is the official Parkinson SuperWalk poster by the Parkinson Society of British Columbia. So the website is linked here, but if you go to www.parkinson.bc.ca/SuperWalk, you can find your local SuperWalk for Canada, and you can sign up and donate and participate to your local walk. Ours will be Prince George, and we hope to see you there. And like I said, we will also be walking for a movement disorder clinic in Prince George as well, and that will also be part of our motivation to walk on September 6th.
I like it.
Yeah.
So that is going to be very, very important. We want everybody there. And then What else can you share with us about, and I'm glad that you went through that, about, that is your medical objectives. You're going to the medical school of the University of Northern British Columbia Medical School, and then you like to have your career in Northern British Columbia. That's important to you?
Yeah, so neurology has always been interesting to me. Alzheimer's runs in my family, so that's why I've always been interested in neuroscience and neurology in general. And then Parkinson's, I think, is also really important because it's one of the fastest growing neurodegenerative diseases in Canada. And since I want to stay in my community and give back to my community, that's why I wanted to initiate and advocate for a movement disorder clinic, because I feel like our healthcare system here needs help sometimes versus like the Lower Mainland. Like we have a clinic in Victoria, Kelowna, and Vancouver, but what about Prince George? Like Sal and Alpe said, like our postal code shouldn't define us in getting the right healthcare we need. But
and again, to that point, Serena, the politicians in British Columbia, I know the current government. I'm not political, but to remember that 80% of all the GDP, the gross provincial national product, financial product, comes from Northern British Columbia, north of Hope. And so we need to get in an investment in the
movement disorder clinic. So about $278 million is spent on Parkinson's healthcare in BC. So that cost can be minimized if we have a movement disorder clinic, like you were talking about costs. Parkinson's patients are twice as prolonged to stay in a hospital than any other disorder or disease. So having a clinic would mean less neurological visits, less hospitalized stays, and less long-term care. And with that, that's why I went into neurology, because we need more neurologists up in the north to help them, because the wait list is 1.5 years just to see one. So a lot of people go actually undiagnosed for a long time, and they don't know. And they know they have Parkinson's, but they just can't get the official diagnosis without the neurologist, which I think is very difficult.
So how close is the closest by a neurologist?
So we have 2 in Prince George.
Okay.
However, the Parkinson specific neurologist is in the Lower Mainland, Vancouver. His name is Dr. Jonathan Squires. He works at the Terrace Clinic too. So Terrace has a clinic, but we need one too. So we're trying to establish with him where we're not asking for something like permanent even. We're asking for just the basic needs of them coming 4 times a year to Prince George, holding their clinic, and then taking on our patients and then going back. And this will help people, because Parkinson's, like I said, you have tremors and all that. So physically, some people aren't able to go down there.
Exactly.
And also cost too, because a lot of people with Parkinson's are seniors on a fixed income, and the financial barrier that comes with traveling back and forth is very difficult for people.
So for our politicians in Victoria, I'm not playing politics here, but I think it is clearly important that we look at what can we do to get a facility here in Prince George that will address the issues. We support what is happening in Terrace, but for all intents and purposes, that's about 300-400 miles away from us as well. And to have one here in Prince George is a center, and that's something that should be supported as well. And then this is also, I would suggest on the September the 6th, when we do a walk here on the Clayton Park in Prince George, starting at
12:30, but registration opens 11:30.
11:30 start, registration 12:30. I would suggest let Premier Ibby from not putting you on the spot, and then John Rustad being the opposition leader, and some of the other politicians, including federal politicians, come down here, be part of it. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't, but just a suggestion to you and everybody involved that it is important to show the support, as Serena is doing, and many others are doing. Celine is doing in a big way, and has been. Come down from the politician side to bring the premier down to the province to be part of it would be an honor for us here, I believe.
Yes, I agree. And we have a proposal made for the movement disorder clinic and everything. Now we're just waiting to hear back from Northern Health and have a talk with them. So amazing work being done. And thanks to Selin and his team for bringing so much attention to the media on this important topic.
I agree 100%, and let's make sure it happens. We want at least 500 people there. We hope that the Premier will be there. I'm sure the opposition leader, John Rustad, it's in his writing here as well, will be there, and then possibly also from the federal government, and to see people like Serena and many others. This has been an organization that has been doing this for 15 years. Selin has done a fantastic job giving back to the community, and we want all of you supporting this. Now, one more question, Serena, that comes to mind. The frequency of occurrence has gone up dramatically, you say. Is that because, if I think about ADHD, dyslexia, and other things, is that it was never really being public all that much? Is that one of the issues? It has become more public and that people accept it more? Or is the frequency of occurrence, for whatever reason, increasing because of what?
So basically, in BC right now, we have 17,500 people with Parkinson's and estimation about 700 people in northern BC. This number is allegedly supposed to increase by 32% in the next decade. The reason why Parkinson's is becoming more prevalent and increasing, I think has to do with how we live life. And I think like back then, it was always like you were always exercising and our diets were mostly whole foods. And I think with processed and all that, they have shown research that it plays a factor somehow, and that's why younger people are getting it. But I think it's always been genetic, and that it's become more prevalent because more people are getting diagnoses, because most of the time, like, it goes undiagnosed, like I've said, for a long time. But now that the diagnoses are coming, and I think people are becoming more public with it, and they're actually going to the doctor with it, because when you have the shakes and stuff, you freak out and you're like, oh my God, my life is over. I don't want to even go to the doctor. It's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't have Parkinson's. Denial is really big with this disease. And
understandably
just
so.
like ADHD, and you're like, no, it's like, I'm normal. But I say, don't let your disability define you.
I say it's a superpower.
Exactly. Yes, it's a superpower. So I think people shouldn't let them define them, and that they should speak up and say, yeah, I have Parkinson's, but hey, I'm much more than that. And I think that's what's happening. Like I said, with Cell and Alpay coming out, we're seeing positive, and more people are coming out and saying, yeah, I have Parkinson's. I'm like, I've never heard of you guys from the sport group before. Yeah,
and Cell and Alpine has been an example of giving back, and say successful business person, and I'm proud of Cell. And then at the same time, with ADHD and dyslexia, in spite of all of that, I'm an author. I'm working on the 6th book. I'm probably one of the most active in-demand speakers. I'm certainly top 1% global podcasters, and millions of people are watching this. This issue is not only here in Prince George, but it is also in your community, and to give support again from the Prince George region. Let's make sure we get a major turnout on the 6th here at 12:30. Be there early enough at 11:30. But we want to get at least 500 people and give Serena, Alpine, and Celine the support that they deserve, and they have. Now's the time to do that, and to be together on these issues is critically important. And it encouraged me to have people like Serena that is giving her life and her commitment as well. Any comments that you have at the end, Serena, that you want to say?
I think, participate, sign up, donate, and we have fundraising goals set up. For Prince George, we're trying to raise up to $20,000, so if we can reach that. And even,
how far are you now?
We're at approximately 12,600. If we can reach that goal with Selling Squad and break it even, like, it would be amazing, I think. And all that money goes towards research and help funding programs. So
I challenge everybody around. Things are tough for us in the lumber industry and all of those other guys. We're going to donate 1,000.
Yeah.
And I challenge all the business people in the Prince George region. Let's get to 30,000, 40,000. You know, donate. I will donate $1,000, and then I challenge all my friends that are business people, and including the forest industry and all those other people in the region, match mine and donate it, and let's bring it to $30,000, $40,000. Serena,
Yeah.
it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
I'll give you a big hug after we disconnected.
No worries.
Okay, thank you all, everybody watching us. And then if you like what we are doing for not only for the region but globally, you know, if you like what we're doing, watch our podcast and subscribe to our podcasting, share it with others, like it if you wish, send comments in the region, and again, thank you very much again for watching, and thanks, Serena.
Thank you for having me.